welcome to Sociology of Cars podcast. This is your host, Jimmy Xie. You're listening to the second episode brought to you by Zero2Sixty Studios in San Dimas, California. Today, I have two very special guests, Joe and Chris, who are not only members of the Zero2Sixty family, but also they're the experts of their industry. So, of course, if we're talking about PPF and Vinyl Wrap, there's so much that we can talk about. Let's just start from slow, Joe. What is your name? What should the audience know more about you? And what makes you an expert in the subject matter?
Hey, Jimmy. My name is Joe, known as Joe the PPFer. I've dedicated almost half a decade in this industry. I treat it like how I treated education, where I took a methodical process where I got certified and put myself out there working at numerous different shops so I can learn this craft. So I spent time in small, medium, large shops in the States and in Australia.
Got it. And now you're self-employed.
Now I'm self-employed at my own shop at Zero2Sixty AutoLabs.
What about you, Chris?
Well, my name is Chris. I'm known as Chris the Rapper. I've been doing vinyl since 2016, almost by accident, but really just trained myself to learn the film for a number of years, working with other installers, a lot of shops, just perfecting the craft, and really that's where I am today. So.
Got it. And I think that off air, you guys were telling me that both of you used to work for big shops. Mm-hmm. And now both of you are self-employed at Zero2Sixty. Mm-hmm. Can you paint that little picture for me? How did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, I actually worked with Chris a couple of years ago at another shop. And then I wanted to do things a bit different, where I saw the flaws in some of the bigger shops, the shops that I've worked at. And I decided to do something, me and Chris, where we wanted to really focus on the customer experience in a sense where we can do it at a high quality. Unfortunately, in this industry, there's no standards like in engineering or being a doctor. That's where I wanted to set my own standards.
Well, so there's a lot we can talk about, big shop versus small shop. A couple years ago, when I first bought my Miata, my first sports car, and my friend, I'm just going to make up a fake name, Tony. Tony has a big shop in my local area. He quoted me $8,000 to $10,000 to PPF my Miata, which is arguably the smallest car out there. And of course, I said no because my Miata only costs like $34,000. So it doesn't make any sense to spend almost a third of the cost of the car just to protect the paint. And I was very, straightforward with him too about that part. Just tinting the two windows and the front windshield, he quoted me $600. And I did that anyway. So for years, I've kind of like bit the bullet. And one day I finally asked him, I was like, hey, why is your price so much higher than what I thought the things would be? And he said, Jimmy, because all the other guys out there, they don't use the right product. They don't have the name brands. We only use the top of the line. And all of our technicians are actually trained. A lot of the guys you see out there, they're untrained. So what he said kind of scared me from ever reaching out to all the other options because I'm thinking, well, he's a decent person, doesn't seem like a liar to me. Obviously, I'm going to trust him. So when I first met you guys, and I didn't trust you at all because I thought, oh, there you go. Maybe you're the one that Tony was talking about until we started talking. And then I realized how unfair it was for him to mischaracterize his competitors. People always say, oh, business is not personal. Well, just because you're doing business doesn't mean that you have to sacrifice your integrity and unfairly target and mischaracterize your competitors. So let's start from the very beginning. What is the biggest difference between a big shop and a small shop or / individual installers like yourself?
I mean, with the big shop, being a big shop, you have a lot of installers. Like where I worked at, we have numerous installers, but then you also have the volume. So where with a big shop, you might be booked out, a month behind, 2-3 months. You might have 10 cars lined up. And so you're big for a reason. You have to fill the space. There's rent to pay for, all the overheads. That's why, to me, working at a big shop, I felt really rushed. All my jobs were, I had to get it done on time. There was zero chance where I can take my time. If there was an issue with the panel, I knew I should have redone it, but I couldn't because there was deadlines to me. If I was delayed, then my manager had to call like 10 different customers to delay the appointment. So, but with a smaller shop, to me, from my experience with my shop, I take the time with my customers. I really take the time and inform them that the process is very crafted If I have to do a panel redone, I'll do it. As installers, we're human beings. Some days it's not an on day. We might be a bit off, we might be a bit tired, sleepy. That's why I tell my customers, like, a typical job at a big shop, like a full front, for example, this includes the bumper, the hood, the side view mirrors,
Fenders,
and the fenders. It generally takes one day. I can do it one day. But at here, I tell my customers I need 2 or 3 days. It gives the time for the film to cure. I can correct any issues. I can redo panels if I'm not happy with it.
A lot of people, including myself, right? I did not even know that small shops / independent installers even existed. And especially my friend Tony's rhetoric scared me off from even finding another option. I thought, I have to stick with him, right? So when you were talking to me about the big shops having people rush through the process, that makes a lot of sense. And as kids, we were taught that the more you pay for something, the better of the product that you get. But as we become adults, we realize that that's not necessarily true. When you buy a Louis Vuitton bag, you're really paying for the brand, right? Maybe the bag really costs 1/10 of the price to make. And there are other bags out there that cost more to make, but they charge less and have a thinner profit margin. So to me, if I'm paying for a big shop, I'm shaking hands with the receptionist, I'm shaking hands with the owner and saying, please take care of my baby. But guess what? At the end of the day, they're not even the one touching my car. And I think off air, you were telling me that some of them use a whole bunch of trainees. Some shops do that. But regardless if they're using trainees or actual experienced installers, I think the unpredictability part is something I didn't expect. When you're spending a lot of money, when you're paying a premium, the unpredictability part of it is the last thing that you would expect. But when you go for an independent installer, you see who's working on your car. So, which is kind of ironic.
You get the same. I'll give you an example, Jimmy. Like in this industry, there's not that many installers. We all know each other. Big shops, small shops, we all know each other. And so even some of the contractors who go to the big shops that go to our shop, they enjoy it because they're not rushed. Where in the big shop, they might be like, I got 3 days to finish a full car. Where here, we're like, we'll give you 5 days so you can enjoy, relax, take your time, and get it done right. No rush.
Yeah, to Joe's point, subcontracting, you will get the same subcontractors. I probably subcontracted for some of the big shops also, right? So you'll get my work at a big shop, but over there, I'm being rushed, not doing the job that I should be doing as an independent.
What about the profit margin part of it? Because, people do pay a premium going to the big shops, right? So, the same friend Tony, he's a decent person, but I might not agree with the way that he does business. And that's where my gripe is. He always, I'm going to be very blunt, he pretends to be poor. So he has 8 of his personal car collections at the shop, including one Mark IV Supra and also an RV. But all the time when you see him, he's like, oh, Jimmy, I'm only working to survive.
Oh, really?
I have very little profit because I'm paying my guys so well that I have very little profit margin. But you know what? As a friend, I'm just going to give you a slight discount, maybe like $50 off.
$50. Yeah,
But it's after meeting you that I realized, wow, it's not an illusion. It's not a coincidence that he has 8 personal collections, right? A lot of these owners do take home a lot of money. No matter how well they pay their installers, they're still the ones profiting the most.
It's hard to generalize because every shop does things slightly different. But for my shop, for example, and the shops that I've worked with, it's generally where a job comes in, you pay your installer roughly 20%, 25% of the job. The better installer, obviously, you're going to pay more. So it depends on the shop owner how much they want to spend. They can hire the top installer, and obviously the margins go down. The top installer probably asks 30%, 30, 35%. Another way to do it is that they hire an employee. Obviously, if it's a brand new employee, they're going to pay less. If it's a skilled employee, obviously they got to pay a bit more. So it's always good to see what shops, how long the employee's been there. If a shop has a lot of turnaround, then you know that obviously the employees aren't happy. Then after the employees, then you have your film costs. Depending on the film brand you buy, films can range anywhere from $1,000 to like $2,000 in terms of PPF.
So do you think that it's worth it to pay a premium to go to a big shop? What are you getting from the big shop that a small shop cannot give you?
I don't know if it's per se worth it. If maybe you like the aesthetic of being like with all the other cars that are there, you know that they have the overhead to take care of the other cars, so you kind of see that. But I don't say they're going to do a better job than we would do, right? Because we can get the same film, we can get the same materials and all that.
And the same installers.
Yeah. But I guarantee you the customer service level is going to be top notch with us.
I think the other big draw is that some of the shops would say, well, we carry a certain name brands that are the top of the line quality that other shops do not have. Therefore, you should go with us. During our conversation, you indicated that sometimes using these brands might not even be the best options, but the customers have no idea, right? Because all of these work is happening behind the scenes. And to be quite fair, a lot of the times you don't even know who's touching your car. You only see the receptionist, you only see the owner.
Obviously, some of the bigger brands, they're big. They have a strong marketing team. They're out there. You see them. You see their name. You see their Instagram. You see their ads. These brands, after years, they built up a great reputation. And a lot of big shops do use it. They say, our shop, we used it in Australia. But there's a pros and cons to everything. The reason why we went with another brand is because, end of the day, we're here to protect the customer's paint. We see how PPF can be, and we can see how it is 5 years down the line. Obviously, PPF isn't perfect. It's there to protect the paint. And there's times where we have to remove the PPF due to rock chips. The customer wants it refresh. And from my experience, where sometimes when we remove the film with some of these other brands, we can remove clear coat, we can remove paint. It defeats the purpose of protecting the paint.
And let's say during the installing process, if dust or something getting into the film, then when you peel it off to reapply, that could be an issue because it's too sticky.
Correct. Some of the other brands have a strong adhesion. So in terms of the PPF world, there's really tacky film, a strong adhesion film, and there's like a medium tack. With a strong tack film, as an installer, I install it way faster. But I can't really lift the film in case there's dirt or debris. I can, but it creates like a line in the PPF. So for people out there who's gotten their car installed, if they look closely, sometimes they might see lines, which is acceptable. Sometimes you have to remove dirt. But for some films, like a medium tack film where I can lift, clean it out, relay, there's no line.
So these more forgiving films that are cheaper, but it's also more forgiving.
I wouldn't say it's cheaper. It's just a different design.
Yeah. So the high tack films, they're about 12 years, right? Where the medium tacks would be about 10-year warranty. So it's just the thickness of it also.
Got it. So is it, quote unquote, worth it to pay a premium for the name brands if that's the case? Because like you said, it's less forgiving. So you are hoping that the installer can just do it right the first time around, which if you're under the pump, God knows.
To me personally, let's say I bought a brand new car tomorrow and I need to get it installed, I would go against a high tack film. I'd rather the film fail a bit than have it tack, and where if I have to remove the PPF, I wouldn't be praying or hoping it wouldn't remove the clear coat or the paint.
Right, which is very interesting because I feel like one of the biggest selling point of PPF is that, hey, it's just a sacrificial layer. If the rocks were to hit it, you can just peel it off and reapply for a new film. But according to you now, if it's so sticky, then you don't want to peel it off, reapply. In that case, having an installer that can spend more time with the car is extremely important.
It's extremely important, and we tell our customers, if you buy a brand new car, try to get it here that day. Like my car, for example, I bought a brand new car, and within a week, it was chipped up before I had a chance to PPF it.
Got it. So, actually one of our audiences did ask a question about, hey, if my car is already chipped, can I still apply PPF? Is it too late?
You can still apply the PPF to protect the rest of it, but the rock chips that are there are still going to be there. So if you're trying to get protection for it, I would still definitely recommend getting it done. That way it doesn't damage more or anything.
So it wouldn't really give you a new look per se?
No.
It wouldn't, but with PPF, it does hide a lot of swirls and light scratches. You'll be amazed.
So it'd be like a 20% improvement.
Correct. Sometimes more.
Chris, is in the vinyl wrapping industry kind of similar to PPF?
It's actually different because the vinyl wraps is more of an aesthetic thing where people buy a brand new car, they're trying to protect the quality, pristine of the car, where vinyl wrap is you're trying to change the whole look of the car, right?
Just to give a more technical detail, or vinyling, the thickness of the vinyl, it's actually 2-3 mils, where PPF ranges from 7 to 12 mils. So it's more than double the thickness.
Got it.
Yeah, but now the new thing is colored PPF.
Oh, yeah.
Thick vinyl, thick PPF that's colored.
Wow. So is it technically better than color wrap?
It's better because it's going to last longer and low maintenance, but it's also going to be more expensive.
Yes.
Right.
But you get the long warranty with PPF versus vinyl.
Got it.
Yeah.
So in the vinyl wrap industry, is there a difference between the more expensive wrap versus a cheaper one?
Yeah, lots of differences. So with the vinyl, you really want to lean towards what you want to work with, right? Because there's cast film and then there's a calendar film. A calendar film would be more geared toward like a commercial, flat walls, flat surfaces, where a cast film is like a malleable thing where you can do mirrors, you can do bumpers and stretch it around. And also now they have hybrid material, which is like a mixture of both. Also with the color choices, everybody has similar colors, but they'll have like their differences of like some gloss might look better than other people's gloss. Another person's satin might look better than another person's satin.
And some brands offer longer warranty in vinyl, right, Chris?
Yes, exactly. So longer warranty in vinyl, maybe their process is thicker for their coating and all that, for the casting process. And then some like lesser expensive films, it's just going to be thinner. So it's just going to be easy to put on. It's just not going to last as long.
Chris, what are some of the things that you saw in the big shop, if you don't mind sharing, that you perhaps felt a little bit iffy about?
Well, some of the big shops, exactly what Joe was saying is like they have so much overhead, right? They'll hire some subcontractors that, you know, they're not in-house people per se. It's like they're just trying to rush the car out the door. So those guys, you know, they're not going to care about the customer service because they're just going to lay the film, get their check, and leave, right? So what happens after that if there's a complaint and all that? So how are you, like, if the shop owner's not laying the film down, like, how is he going to fix that? Like, is he going to have to call that installer back? Is he going to have to call somebody else to fix it? So that's a big thing with being at a big shop, right? So because since I'm also self-employed, you know, I do the customer service and I do the install portion, right? So if something has to be fixed or anything, I'm going to be the one to do it, and I'm going to know how to fix it. I'm not going to rely on somebody else coming in to fix that for me.
And then that just kind of goes back to the marketing point. Like, I think when we first met, you mentioned that the hardest thing for private installers is the marketing part. The PPF, the color wrap, like, you guys are experts, right? So that's not the hardest part. The hardest part is how to get the customers in the door.
Yeah.
And my bread and butter, I'm a marketing strategist. So whenever I hear a business is struggling with marketing, my first question is, why? What's preventing them from going to the next level? And then when I was doing soul searching and my own personal story, I recalled what my friend Tony said, right? That mischaracterization of what the competitors would do. Because I see everybody else as scammers now because of what he said, I am scared to go on and explore. So when I see you guys, in my head, I'm not even going to give you a chance until we started actually talking. So would you say that maybe that kind of rhetoric is one of your biggest challenges?
Yeah.
Exactly. It's very hard being a small shop owner to compete with the big boys. With the big shops where I've worked at, they have full-time social media people, full-time, you know, secretaries, full-time this, full-time that. As a small shop, I'm opening the door, I'm cleaning the bathroom most of the time.
Yeah.
I'm sweeping, I'm taking the videos myself, I'm editing, and also I'm trying to lay film. So
and marketing.
So there's not much time to actually market and work on the business when you're working in the business and dealing with the customers.
Joe, I remember that recently you told me that some of your customers actually came from a big shop. They had some work done there. They were not satisfied, so they found you through a YouTube video that you made about PPF. Would you mind sharing what happened there with that customer?
Yeah, so I got a message on Instagram recently where a customer picked up her Tesla Model Y, and she wasn't informed that the front bumper was a two-piece. The shop didn't tell her. And she was like, why are these seams there? In the shop's defense, we do a lot of two pieces. It depends on the customer's preference. Sometimes we two piece the front bumper due to the design, but sometimes we one piece it. I guess she wasn't informed and she wasn't happy with it. But the shop told her that the one piece was not possible. It was not possible to do. So she went home and searched up YouTube, and one of my videos showed up where Chris and I were stretching. She was like, it is possible. So she sent me a message, and she was like, is it possible? Is this really something that you can do? And I said, yes, we one piece it. But it's at the customer's discretion, but a two piece isn't bad, but we can do this. And she was like, okay, I'll bring my car in.
Yeah, and I think that's the advantage of coming to us, because we are going to personalize in that customer service. We're going to go through every bit of what to expect and what your expectation is after you get the car back, right? So we're not going to, hey, when we do this bumper, it's actually a plotted out piece, or it's going to be two seams. It was like, hey, is there a different way to do it? It's like, oh, actually, we can do it in one piece if you like that, so you can get that personalized experience with that.
And you know what's so mind-blowing is like you guys both came from big shops, and you guys were both properly trained. So listening to you talk, I'm just thinking like, what's the reason for me to even pay a premium to go to the big shop when I can work with someone directly and you have the same training, even better customer experience, and then less in price?
There's a lot of it's hard because as a general consumer, like we're trained to go with the big brands. We're trained to go to Macy's or Nordstrom or whatever. We don't really look at the small mom and pops. And plus, it's usually not in your feed, in your Instagram feed, when you're looking at things. So it's really hard for a small shop to represent itself.
I think sometimes the biggest challenge to consumers is that they do not know what their options are. Hey, Joe and Chris. So basically, we're at the Zero2Sixty Studios headquarters in San Dimas, California. The studio that we're at right now not only supports creatives like myself, it is also for rent. We have a state-of-the-art sim racing studio facility with a lounge. You guys offer full PPF, color wrapping, tints, and all kinds of mechanical work. How do we find you guys?
Find us on Instagram if you search up 2Sixty AutoLab.
Address is 474 West Arrow Highway, Suite B in San Dimas, California.
So with PPF, people think it's there to make the car look better. It's not paint perfection film. It's paint protection film. If someone wants it, show quality, zero lines, no edges.
Go to the big shops.
No, I recommend them getting it coated because PPF, you do see flaws here and there, unfortunately, with lines and cuts where sometimes there's some places where you cannot tuck, where you will see a PPF line.
Got it. So it's almost like putting a condom, and it's just never going to be the same feel.
I wouldn't know how.
Oh, yeah, I don't use condoms either.
So in terms of removing the PPF, by the way, so people who have it on, we use a lot of steam and hot water to remove it. So the glue gets a bit weaker and we can stretch a certain way. We just don't peel it off.
So one of our listeners did ask, if I want to start doing the PPF work, getting into the industry, getting into vinyl wrap, what is the step in Southern California?
I mean, there's a lot of ways to get into this industry. It's a very hot industry right now. It's cool, especially for the vinyl, not so much PPF. If they want to get into the industry, there's a lot of courses out there on the market right now you can take. Generally, courses range between 3 to 5 days. I took a course myself. Chris did too.
Yep.
That helps you just understand the industry. But there's a lot of cons to it too, though. I took the course. I'll give you my example. So I took a course with Eddie. I laid 2 cars, my cars. I did the job. I was like, you know what? I'm ready. I'm ready to do PPF, boys. I got this. So I went to a shop, and he was like, lay this bumper for me. I could not do it. Could not lay the bumper.
Yeah, so in that regards, it's very important to get the formal training, right? So you can understand the film and all that. But at that point, after the training, you're not going to be ready to say, hey, like take customer's car and go fully do a car by yourself. You're actually going to have to go and put the work in under somebody that can show you the tips and tricks to do everything.
It's quite an expensive undertaking because PPF and vinyl, you know, the roll is expensive. From my experience, it takes about 100 cars before you're proficient. 100. And to do yourself, that's like 100 grand, 150 grand worth of film. It's impossible.
Yeah, and then it took me. So my story is, when I started, I had absolutely no idea what vinyl wrapping was. Right, I took the class and I was like, okay, I can do the car, but without that, I never got showed how to do the bumpers, how to like stretch it on or anything. So it took me a year just to understand what I was doing with the film. Not until like I started working with other installers, I started picking like, okay, that's why people stretch it like that. That's why you use heat here, or that's why you leave seams like that.
So I actually picked up a apprentice about 6 months ago. He was like, you know what? I think I'm going to take a class. I was like, don't. I mean, you can, but I wouldn't waste your money. So where you can take the class, but you're not going to be ready. And there's a lot of gatekeeping in this industry too, though. There's a lot of guys that don't want to show their craft, unfortunately. They don't want to create competition.
Yeah. So my story too is like, I've been doing vinyl work for a long time now, and I didn't really learn PPF until very recently. And that was just me going to other shops like, hey, you should teach me how to PPF, or maybe just show me some tricks. And everybody's like, nah, I don't really want to do that. Not until I was forced to like, hey, my job was doing PPF, and I took another class for that separately from vinyl, which is a 5-day course. And then, that helped me because I did understand film already. So I did know how to stretch it and all that, but nobody really taught me in the industry per se. Like nobody's like, hey, Chris, come and I'll teach you. Like, it was all like, oh yeah, I'll show you something, but that never really happened.
A good analogy to this is like, let's say you're taking like a baking class. You don't know baking, you take a class, but are you going to be a Michelin star baker? No. It takes time. It takes many years, many cars in our instances to get good. And to do that, as someone who's brand new, 18, I want to get into this industry, my advice is get a mentor. What I've seen is I've seen some installers with 6+ years experience and they're trash. I hate to say it, they're just trash because they went through YouTube Academy. They'll be making the same mistakes over and over, and there's no one there to actually show them, you know what, there's a better way to do it. Where my apprentice, he's been doing it for 6 months or more, and then he's getting there. He can't do a full car yet, but I can see his progression. He's getting better and better and better at it.
So it's almost like you're being thrown into the ocean and you have to swim by yourself.
Yeah.
Wow.
But there's consequences to this where with PPF and wrapping, we're using a blade, we're cutting. And so it takes a long time to know the right amount of pressure where you're scoring the film and you're not cutting into the paint.
So there's like a couple stages to learn how to wrap. You got to learn how to lay it down, stretch it on, and then after that comes the trimming, cutting, and that's a whole nother level of learning and all that. So like, because we're still learning every day how to do corners, how to do stuff better. It's always evolving.
I was telling you, Jimmy, offline, like I can show you how to wrap a hood tomorrow. You'll do it. Will it be great? No, but you'll do 80% of it. And people get this false impression where, you know what, I did the hood. I think I can charge now for customers. Where from my experience, where the 80% takes a day, you'll do it. But the last 20% will take years to master. It's the final touches that actually matter and why guys charge so much. Customers really have to do their due diligence in terms of finding the shop, big or small. I tell my customers, you know what, get referrals. Ask your friends who's gotten a job. Look at the work. Look at their social media. Actually go to their shop. A lot of customers, they just email to get quotes. But for me, I was like, just actually go to the shop and check it out. Is it a clean shop? If it's a clean shop, they generally do clean work. It's like going to a restaurant. Like you go to the bathroom, if the bathroom is dirty as, what's their standard like?
Yeah, and plus, like, you'll get to meet us, right? Like, hey, I really like them, the way they present themselves, the way they talk to me, the customer service,
Yeah, it's a relationship. Yeah. It's not just a one-time deal like you're buying a bag. With PPF and Wrap, there's aftercare. We see you a couple months down the line for a checkup.
Got it. Thank you very much for the knowledge. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We're honored to have you.
Oh, thank you,
Jimmy. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you for having us.
So years ago, when I was in graduate school, I took a mandatory course on democracy. And the professor said to me that in order for democracy to work properly in any social settings, not just political, every member of the social group has got to be well informed of their options and choices in order to make the right decisions for themselves. I think that in this case, this episode is not about bashing anybody or any brand, Rather, it's about stating facts and help our listeners to make aware of the options that they have so that they can make the right decisions for themselves down the line. I'm grateful for Joe and Chris coming on the show today, and whether you're on your way to your favorite canyon run group or maybe you're cruising on the freeway, I do hope you enjoyed this episode. Sociology of Cars podcast is produced by Sociology of Everything, supported by Zero2Sixty Studios in San Dimas, California. I am your host, Jimmy Xie. See you next time.